Welcome back. In the last lecture, we had talked about the notion of an algorithm, and I showed you how to write the algorithm for a simple problem, namely to compute the factorial of a given number. In this lecture, I'll try to familiarize you with the basic use of a computer, so you can start working with the computer right away, and whatever we learn in the class, you can put that to practical use. But before we start with today's lecture, let me once again talk a little bit about last lecture's exercise. So if you recall, last lecture's exercise was to compute the quotient and the remainder when x is divided by y, assuming that only addition and subtraction are available as primitive arithmetic operations. So how do we go about doing this? Well, we need to use the properties of the quotient and the remainder. And as you know, if q and r are the quotient and remainder respectively obtained after dividing x by y, then these two properties are satisfied, that q times y plus r is equal to x, and secondly, r is less than y. So how do we use these properties to come up with an algorithm to compute q and r given x and y? Well, the idea is pretty simple. We keep subtracting y from x repeatedly till we end up with a number which is smaller than y, and once we do that, then the final number that we are left with is nothing but the remainder r that we are looking for. And what is the quotient? The quotient is the number of times that we have subtracted y from x. Okay, so here is the solution to this problem. So as before, we read the values of x and y, and the variable q is going to denote the quotient, which will essentially count the number of times we are going to subtract y from x till x becomes less than y. So we initialize the value of q to 0, and as long as x is greater than or equal to y, we perform these two steps, and in each step we subtract y from x, so x becomes x minus y. Note that we have changed the notation slightly from the last lecture, and we are now using a more concise notation. The left arrow here indicates an assignment, which means that the value of the variable x is being changed. The left hand side of the arrow denotes the variable whose value is being changed, and the right hand side denotes the new value that this variable is going to have. So this statement 3.1 should be read as x assigned x minus y, and which means that the new value of x is set to the old value of x minus the value of y. And similarly, since we have subtracted y from x once, we add 1 to q. Remember that q counts the number of times that we subtract y from x, and finally after some time, since x is decreasing in every step, ultimately x will become less than y, and at that time we stop executing step number 3 and we come to step 4, which is to print the result. The remainder is x. Remember that every time we have subtracted y from x, we have stored the result back in x. So finally x becomes less than y, and it is the remainder, and the quotient of course is the number of times we have subtracted y from x, which is nothing but q. Okay, so coming back to today's lecture, as I said, today I will familiarize you with the basic working and use of a computer, so that we can start using the computer to write programs and to execute those programs. In this lecture series, we will be using the Linux operating environment. There are several operating systems available for computers, as you might have heard of. For example, Windows, Linux, and Solaris, etc. An operating environment essentially consists of an operating system and number of application programs. An operating system is a program that manages the computer resources, and all application programs run under the control of this software. So as I said, there are several operating systems like Windows, Linux, and Solaris. We will be using Linux for all demonstrations in this particular lecture series. Application programs are useful programs that make it easier and convenient for us to use and program the computer. We will see a number of application programs and see how to use them. Let me first introduce you to the various parts of the computer. This is what is known as the CPU box, which contains the brains of the computer and the memory and so on, we'll be talking in a little bit more detail about what this contains. This is the keyboard, which as you can see contains keys for various things within which we can type information into the computer. And this is what is known as a mouse. This computer is slightly different from what you will probably see in your lab. This is a laptop computer. Another thing that you will find in your lab will be monitor attached to the computer. To this computer currently this monitor is attached and you can see the output of the computer here. So let's first familiarize ourselves with the keyboard. This is what the keyboard looks like. As you can see that the main area of the keyboard has keys corresponding to the various English alphabets, and then we have these number keys at the top. Using these English alphabet keys, of course, we can type whatever English words we like. Note that these keys can be used to type lowercase as well as uppercase English characters. So if I have to type, let us say, the small g, and if I have to type capital G, I have to first press the shift key like this, keep it pressed, and then press the G key and then release the shift key. This is the control key. The control key is used to type special characters. For example, sometimes we might ask you to type control C. What that means is press control, press C, and then release both of them one by one. This is the caps lock key, and if you press this, then what this means is that whichever English characters we now type will now appear in uppercase instead of in lowercase, and if we press this again, the caps lock mode is now switched off. These are the number keys. On top of the numbers, we also have certain special symbols printed on the keys. So if I just press this key directly, then the number 5 will appear, whereas if I want to get the character %, then again I have to press shift and then press this key and then release them one by one. This is the backspace key. This is also a very important key. If you want to erase something that you have typed previously, perhaps incorrectly, then we just press this and whatever we have typed is erased. This is another important key. This is called the enter key. Usually, most of the time when we type a line of text, we have to then press enter to say that whatever we are typing now will appear on the next line. The rest of the keys are not very important at the time being. We will talk about them whenever we need to. Okay, and this is the mouse, and if I move this around, you can see this little arrow moving on the screen. This little arrow is called the pointer, and using this mouse I can move this pointer anywhere that I like. Also on this mouse you can see these two buttons which are called as the left button and the right button. Most of the time the left button will be used, whereas occasionally the right button might be used. Okay, so let us now start using the computer. The first screen that you are seeing over here is what is known as the login screen. So here we are supposed to identify ourselves to the system, and this identification consists of two parts. The first part is a username which is assigned to us by the system administrator of this computer. So my login name or the username is DG on this computer. So I move the mouse and make the pointer appear in this small window where I am supposed to type the username. I click here with the left button so that whatever I type on the keyboard now will go here, and I type my username, which is DG, and after doing that I have to press enter. And now the computer is requesting me for a password. This password is a secret combination of characters that I alone am supposed to know, and if I type this sequence of characters correctly, then the computer will be ensured that it is indeed the user DG who is trying to use this computer. And if I type this password incorrectly, okay, let me type some arbitrary password. So as you can see, it says that the username or the password is incorrect. So let me now correctly log in. My username again is DG. This, what I am typing now, is my secret password, and you can notice that the password is not appearing on the screen. This is for obvious reason that if somebody is watching over your shoulder, your password should not be revealed. So after typing my password, once again I just press the enter key, and the computer is now logging main, and this is the initial screen that we are going to see. So once this login process is complete, this is what we get. This entire area is what is known as a desktop. So think of it as the desktop on your physical desk on which you can place some pieces of paper. We don't have any pieces of paper on this desktop yet, but we'll soon have them. These little pictures are called icons, and these are shortcuts to starting some useful applications. So let's start some application programs running. So for example, let's first get a calculator program. Let me start another program. We can actually run more than one program at the same time. So let's start a game of chess. So think of these two, what are known as windows, as pieces of paper on your desk, and just like on your desk, you can move these windows around on your desk, and you can choose which paper should be on the top and so on. So for example, if we now want the chess window to be on top, all we have to do is take the pointer to the title bar. This is the title bar of this window at the top, and click the left mouse button here. So the chess window now comes on the top. Similarly, if I now want the calculator window on the top, this is what I have to do. I can move these windows around, just like moving papers around on my real desk. So if I want to move this calculator a little bit to the right, what I need to do is to take my pointer again to the title bar of this window, press the left mouse button and keep it pressed like this, and now move the mouse while holding the left mouse button down, and when the window is in the desired position, I just release the mouse button and the window has placed there. And I can do a similar thing with this chess window, for example. I can also change the sizes of these windows in most cases. So for example, if I want to make this calculator window a little bigger, I bring my pointer to the edge of this window, and as you can see, the pointer shape has changed here, and now I again press the left mouse button, keep it pressed, and move the mouse like this, and you can see the calculator window becoming larger and smaller. Another thing that we can do with these windows is to minimize them, and that means putting them away till we really need to use them again. So if you see this small button in the title bar for minimization of this window, if you just click the left mouse button here, then this window has been minimized, and you can see that it has come here, and if you just click this again, it will come back. Similarly, we can minimize this. So in terms of a real desk, we can choose to put away some of the papers till we actually need to use them. Also, in many of these applications, you will find things like these, which are menu buttons. So if you click your mouse button on any of these, you will see a menu of actions that you can choose from. For example, this resets the game of chess, or this, using this menu you can choose whether the machine plays white or the machine plays black. So now the machine is playing the white, and we are using the mouse again to make our moves in this game of chess. The next important concept that we need to understand is that of files and directories. This is very fundamental to a computer, because any piece of information that you wish to store in a computer is stored in a file, and every file has a name. So you can think of a file as being a piece of paper on which you can write something, and using programs we can create files and put whatever content that we want to place in those files. These programs are called text editors. Using these programs we can also change the contents of a particular file. So we'll see the use of a text editor slightly later on today. Directories are also a very important concept to understand. Files are organized into directories, so you can think of directory as a folder in which you can place several papers. The only difference here from the normal physical folders is that it is very common to actually place folders inside folders. So you have a hierarchical directory structure where you have a directory in which you have some files and some subdirectories which also may contain some other files and then some more subdirectories and so on and so forth. So let's look at a typical directory structure in a Unix machine. All these things are folders. This folder is called the root directory. This is a special directory because this is where the hierarchy of files begins. Everything else is contained directly or indirectly within this root directory. So in this example, within this root directory, there are 3 subdirectories or subfolders within the same folder, which are called home, etc, and bin. The name of the root directory, you can see, is always slash. This is the slash character, and the names of these folders are then slash home, slash etc, slash bin, and this slash in the beginning of the name signifies that this folder is contained within the slash folder, which of course is the root directory. So this folder home in this example contains yet another folder which is called DG, and therefore the complete path starting from the root directory to this folder is slash home slash DG. So this slash character separates the various components of a path, and the path is nothing but a sequence of names of folders within which, using which the folder or the file can be accessed. And in this example, this particular folder contains a file which is called letter, and therefore the path to this file is slash home slash dg slash letter, and another folder which is called my folder, and therefore the path to this folder is slash home slash dg slash my folder. And in this entire directory structure, every user is assigned a part of the directory structure within which he or she can create his or her own file. This is called the user's home directory. So every user has a system assigned home directory, and the user can create any files or directories within this directory but not elsewhere. So in the previous picture, this directory is the home directory of the user DG, and within this I can create any files and subfolders that I wish to create. So this part of the directory tree belongs to me in some sense. And at any point in time while the user is working, he is working in some current directory, and we can actually change what directory we are working in at any given point in time. Just after we log in, the home directory is also the current directory. That is, just after the login, the current directory is nothing but the user's home directory. So in my particular example, just after I log in, the current directory would be slash home slash dg, and as I'll show you slightly later on, we can easily change what the current directory is. And therefore, it's useful to be able to refer to files not just with reference to its entire path starting from the root directory, but also it is convenient to refer to files by their relative path starting from the current directory. So an absolute path is unique to a file, and it is the full path starting with slash, whereas the relative path is the path for the file relative to the current directory, and this will change depending on what the user's current directory at that particular moment happens to be. So for the same file, the relative path may be different depending on the current directory, and we'll see some examples very soon. And within the path, there are these two special components called dot and dot dot, which refer to the current directory and the parent directory of the current directory in the directory tree respectively. So let's see some examples. So this is the same directory structure as before. We are assuming in this example that slash home slash dg, which as I said is my home directory on this computer, is also the current directory at this particular point in time. So these paths in the brackets are the relative paths relative to the current directory slash home slash dg. So the path for the current directory itself, the relative path would be just dot. As I said, dot is used to refer to the current directory itself, and the relative path for this directory, namely slash home, would be dot dot, because as I said, dot dot is used to refer to the parent directory of the current directory, and similarly the relative path for the root directory would be dot dot slash dot dot, because it is the parent of the current directory. And similarly, Now the etc directory, this particular folder, can be referred also as ../../etc because this is within the root directory which has that relative path ../../, and therefore the relative path of this folder becomes ..///etc. And if you look at these two files and folders in my own home directory, the relative path for this, the absolute path for this particular file, remember, is /home/dg/letter. So the relative path becomes either just letter or /letter, because remember again that dot is used to refer to the current directory. We don't need to actually use dot here, we can just say letter. If we do that, then because the path is not starting with a slash, it is assumed to refer to the, it is assumed to be a relative path. And similarly, the relative path for this folder would be either my folder or /my folder. Let us now look at some of the UNIX commands that you will find helpful to deal with files and directories. For doing that, we need to first start a UNIX command window. So this is how I'll start it on this computer. It may be a little different on your own machine in the lab. So in this menu, go to System Tools, and within this sub menu, click at Terminal. Note that every time I am clicking the left mouse button. So this brings up a command window in which I can type commands. The first command that we are going to see is very important. That's the command to change your password. To change your password, the command is simply passwd. This will ask you for the current password in order to ensure that this is not somebody who is using your terminal while you are a T. And once you have correctly given your current UNIX password, it asks for the new password. So let me type some new password. I have to type it again to ensure that I haven't made any mistakes. So I did make some mistakes that time. Let me try it again. Okay, so the password has been changed successfully. Having done that, let's try out our new password. So let's first log out of the system, tell the system that we are no longer using it, and then log in again. For doing that, let's first close this command window. And to close any window, we just need to click with the left mouse button on this cross which appears in the title bar of every window. So logout will use this menu which we have used earlier. So I click here, and here is the logout option. So I click on this. It's asking me to confirm that I really wish to log out. So I click here, and the system has logged me out. And as you can see now, we are again back to the login screen. And this time when we log in, we'll have to use our new password. So this time I typed new password, and we have successfully logged in. So let's start the command window once again. System Tools, Terminal. We have the command window back. The first command that we will look at is called the pwd command, which pwd stands for print working directory. And this shows what our current directory is. So as I said, after logging in, the current directory is the same as the user's home directory. Since my home directory is /home/ag, that's my current directory as well, and this is what the output of the pwd command is. Note that after typing the command, I had to press enter. So let's now see some more commands. Using the cd command, we can change the directory, and after separated with blank, we have to specify which directory we need to go to. And here we have to give the path of a directory, which can be either an absolute path or a relative path. Let's just go to the root directory, which means that I can use the absolute path /, and now we have gone to the root directory. The next command that I am going to show is the ls command. ls stands for directory listing. So this shows the list of files present in the current directory. So in the current directory, remember, is the root directory, and these are the files or directories present in the root directory. If you want to see more details about these, we'll use the ls-l command. Note that the ls, the words ls and -l are separated by a blank. So we type enter again, and we see more details about each of these. Let's look at some of these details closely. This first character for each line says whether this is a directory or a regular file. So this bin happens to be a directory because the first character is D. And as a matter of fact, in this particular directory, in the root directory, all the sub files are actually directories. So let's try pwd again. Pwd again shows us slash as the current directory because we have changed into that. Now this of course gives the name of the directory, and this gives the date at which it was last modified. Let me now go back to our home directory, which always will take me to the home directory. So pwd here shows home/dg again. Let us try an ls-l command here. The ls-l command here shows that within this directory /home/dg there is a directory called desktop because there is a D here, and there is a file called psc.txt. This gives the date at which this file was last modified, and this gives the number of characters present in the file. We can see what this file contains by using the cat command. So again, for the cat command, I have to give as argument to the command the path to the file, and since the file psc.txt happens to be in the current directory, we can directly use the relative path, which would be simply psc.txt, and this is what are the contents of the file psc.txt. Okay, let's now use a text editor to create a new text file and see how we can change the contents of an existing text file or create a new text file. So one of the text editor programs available on Linux is called kedit, and as an option to this, as an argument to this command, I have to give the file name that I want to create. So let me name the new file that we are going to create as try.txt. So the command is kedit blank try.txt, and this is the text editor window now, and I can type here. So for example, I have typed this is a new text file that we are creating. If I now want the next words to appear on the next line, all I have to do is press enter, and as you can see, this blinking cursor has come to the next line. Whatever I type here will now go on the next line. If I want to edit something, if I have made a mistake in what I just typed, I can of course use the backspace key to erase what I have just done. And if I want to change something in text written long time back, for example, if I want to change this A with the, then what I can do is take the pointer here, click here just after the A. So the cursor has now come here. Now press backspace and start typing the new text that I want to enter. We can also do more interesting things. For example, we can tag regions of the text and delete them en masse. For example, if I want to delete the word text here, of course I could take the cursor here and press backspace 4 times to delete the entire word. But I could also select this entire word, and to select this, I have to first bring the cursor just before this word, and then to select this word, what I do is press the left mouse button, keep it pressed, and drag it a little bit towards the right till the entire word is selected, or whatever text I want to select has been highlighted. Now once the word text file has been highlighted, I can press backspace, so the entire 2 words will go away, and I can replace it with something else, for example letter. Or I could do more interesting things, such as if I want to make a copy of this sentence, I can select this entire sentence like this and then use the copy command. There is a shortcut to the copy command on this menu. So this little icon is for copying. So when I say copy, the selected text is copied it doesn't appear anywhere on the screen, but if I now say paste, then this whatever has been copied will appear wherever the cursor happens to be. So this is the icon for paste. So if I press this is what I get. Okay, let me now change this a little bit again. Okay, suppose we want to interchange the order of these two lines. What do we need to do? Well, let me first select this, and then instead of copying this entire line, I will cut this entire line using this scissor-like picture over here. So I cut this. So this disappears, and it has also been copied in some internal place. Now, if I bring my cursor here, I can also use the arrow keys to move the cursor around, as you just saw. So I create a blank line here, and if I paste now, then the original selection that we had cut appears over here. Now we would, after typically creating the contents of the file, once we are satisfied with the content, we would typically want to save the file. What saving means is that so far what we have been doing in this editor window has not actually been written to the file on the system. So if we want it to be actually written to the file on the system, we have to first save the contents of the editor window to the file. And to save the file, all we need to do is to click this small floppy disk like image, and the file has been written. You can see here wrote try.txt. Now we can close this editor window, and let's try to see what contents have been written in this file. So using the old command cat, you can see the contents of this file. This is the new text file that we are creating. This is the new letter that we are creating. This is precisely what we had entered in this text file. So as you can see, using this editor program, we can create whatever text document that we want to create, and in particular we'll see that if program is also a text document, and we'll use the same program to actually write new programs that we develop ourselves. Let's also now try to edit an existing file again. So let's just edit this file try.txt once again, and as you can see, the old contents have come back. I can now change whatever I like to make, whatever changes I like to make, save it, close this window, and the changes have taken effect. Okay, another thing that we would like to do is to organize our files that we create into folders, and therefore we need to be able to create new folders, and the command to do that is mkdir. So I can create a new folder within this current directory itself. So using this command mkdir, I am saying that I want to create a new folder whose name will be new folder. And now if I look at the directory contents, you can see that the new folder has been created. I can now change directory into this folder, and if I want, I can create some files. ls shows nothing here because there are no files in this folder yet. I can use the editor command as before to create some files here. We can also make more copies of an existing file, and to do that we have to use the cp command. Cp stands for copy, and this time we have to give it two arguments. The first argument is the path to the file, to an existing file which we want to copy somewhere else. So let's copy the try.txt file that we just created, and since this is in the parent directory of the current directory, remember that the current directory is /home/dg/new folder, whereas the file that we created was in /home/dg. So the relative path to this file would be /try.txt, and the second argument is where we want to copy this. So we want to copy this to the current directory, and to refer to that we can just use dot as I said earlier, and this copies the file to the current directory. Let's have a look using the ls-l command. So as you can see in the directory new folder, there is a file try.txt, and the contents are the same as what were there in the original try.txt, and in the parent directory, which is my home directory, also there is a file try.txt with the same contents. We can also move files from one place to another. For example, if we want to move this file psd.txt to the new folder that we just created, we use a process similar to what we used for copying files, but this time use the mv command, which stands for move. We can use it to move a file to another directory. We can also use it to assign a different name to an existing file. So suppose we move it to the new folder. As you can see, the file is no longer in this folder, and if we go to new folder, the file has appeared here. We can also use the move command to actually change the name of the file. So if I use this command, the name of the file will change to xyz.txt. So here is a summary of the UNIX commands that we have seen today. The passwd command is used to change your password. The ls command is used to list the files in directory. The cd command is used to change the current directory. The pwd command is used to print the current directory or the working directory. The cat command is used to display the contents of a file. The kedit command is used to create or edit the contents of a file. The cp command is used to copy a file, and the mv command is used to move a file. So in today's lecture, we have familiarized ourselves about using a computer, the notion of files and directories, how to create files and directories, to edit files, and so on and so forth. And as an exercise for today, please try out the things that we have seen here today in the lecture in your lab or at home using your own computer. From the next time onwards, we'll actually start writing some programs.